on this monumental occasion, the Hoover Overpass dedication. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mayor Mike Wiesa, current mayor of the city of Stevens Point, but this process started well before I even got involved in government in 2004. So you'll be hearing some of that story from a few of the other administrators that were here before me. The construction of this project, the planning has been decades in the making, but the construction of this project started around March 20th of this spring, and we're hoping to have it open this Friday. I want to reiterate that it will not be open until you hear about it from the official City of Stevens Point website or one of the local media outlets. This is still an active construction zone. There's still a lot of work to be done, but they're hoping to have it wrapped up so we can open on Friday. So keep your ears and eyes posted to the local media, and we'll get that information out as soon as it's available. So I did the best I could on short notice. Someone suggested we try and put together some fun facts in regards to this project. The hill that was created for the overpass, there were 16,000 dump trucks full of dirt that came here. Those are 11-yard dump trucks, so that's 177,000 yards of dirt that they brought in for this project. We had 10 different contractors working on the project at various times. Over 100 people working for those contractors. It's just over a half a mile from end to end of the project. From the bottom of the tracks to the base of the bridge, the very bottom of the bridge where the girders are, is about 23 feet. So there's 23 feet of clearance. Don't jump. The 23-foot fall won't be a problem, but that sudden stop will be a pain. Now these are getting into some technical things that I'm not terribly familiar with, but I'm sure if I use big words, they'll sound important. This is the biggest mechanically stabilized earth wall in the area. So from what I understand, the process of having these walls on either side of the overpass is groundbreaking, I guess is a good word for it. But it's the biggest mechanically stabilized earth wall in the area. And it's also one of the first times that the state drove pilings in after construction of the walls. Apparently this is a new method as well. So those are some of the interesting facts that we have. I want to thank some of the people that participated in the project. Our current Public Works Director, Scott Badoon. Scott, are you out there somewhere? Scott's over there. And Scott's entire staff. They put a lot of time and effort into this as well. This started with former Director Scott Schatzsnyder, who I don't believe is here today. And they carried on with the project. I'd like to thank Baby Cakes, who did the custom designed cake that you see over at the table there. Apparently it's all edible, except for the rails are wooden dowels wrapped in, I don't know, some sugary glaze. But the trains are actually made out of Rice Krispie treats and covered. So we're going to find that out later. I also want to thank the Stevens Point Country Club for helping us supply the cookies and cakes and hot apple cider. I want to thank Blake Elsinger. He was the on-site project engineer for this. These guys are all pretty shy and they didn't want to speak, so I'm just making sure they get recognized. Mike Novi is the local program manager. Mike works for the DAAR Engineering. Mike Grange, Grage. Is that right, Scott? Grage? He's Wisconsin Department of Transportation North Central Regional Local Program Manager. And Travis Meidel works for Integrity Grading and Excavating. And Jackie Masowitz with Canadian National. And I think right now I will have Jackie come up and say a few words, because this project affects a lot of people, a lot of the businesses in the area, and maybe Jackie can share a little bit of her experience with us. Jackie, where are you?
This overpass dramatically increases public safety and convenience right here in our community. As you can see, and as Mayor Wiesa explained, this project was no small undertaking. To build a bridge over a very active railroad with 2 main lines, this is our core route between Winnipeg and Chicago. As many of you know, we have over 30 trains a day, and just doing quick math, 6 months worth of trains About 5,500 trains passed through here during the construction. Between Integrity Grading, Lunda, DOT, the city, CN, this project was built in just such a short amount of time. It's incredible. We also had right-of-way consulting services. Jim Pulaski was our railroad flagger. He was on site during the duration. Jim is a former retired railroader and resident of the city of Stevens Point, so it was nice that he was on this job. All the subs of Lunda and Integrity that worked safely and got this project completed without any incident, and there was 0 delays to the railroad. There were no complaints, nothing. So congratulations, this really is a big deal, and I hope that everyone enjoys using this new overpass. Thank you.
Now I'd like to bring up the mayor who started it all, at least I think so, at least to my recollection, Mayor Gary Westcott, our longest serving mayor, whose tutelage this project started under. Mayor Westcott?
Mr. Mayor, I know that Congressman Dave Obey could not be here today. He certainly, as it has been well reported, deserves a tremendous amount of credit, dedication to getting this job done. I also want to personally recognize Mayor Halverson, who I know worked very hard on this too. I know because in the transition in '07 to Mayor Halverson, he clearly felt this had a real priority for his administration. And then for you trivia buffs, Mayor Halverson and I are the only 2 mayors who he succeeded me and then I succeeded him. And I could tell 7 years later how hard he had worked on this, and you deserve a lot of credit too, my friend. You really do. I remember early in my first term, we reached out about building an overpass, Mr. Mayor, and I know I've shared this with you. And we were told by federal authorities, well, Mr. Mayor, you've had your allocation of bridges. Well, I was new to the job and I didn't really know what they were talking about. So what do you mean by that? Well, we built the Burlesky Overpass and you have the new bridge over the river at HH. You have your allocation of bridges for a while. Okay, I bought it. A few years later, I figured it's got to be time for us to have another bridge. So I approached him again. Well, that's true, Mr. Mayor. You would be eligible for a bridge, but as you know, because we've been planning this for some time now, we're going to tear down the old Clark Street Bridge. Do you want a new one there? All right, so let me guess. That's the next allocation, right? Yep. Well, we did some work, but like I said, we passed most of that to Mayor Halverson, who passed the rest of it to Mayor Wiesa. So I guess I would conclude by being able to share with all of you, we're glad that you are here. We're delighted to see so many of you taking time. But today is an important moment in the history of this city. Today, on October the 16th, 2017, we can finally answer the question, how many mayors and how many years does it take to build an overpass? Thank you.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank all of you very, very much for being here, Your Honor, certainly for the invitation, really in a way that we can celebrate this long investment in infrastructure here within our community for job productivity and certainly for emergency response improvements. As Mayor Westcott indicated, there is really no person more responsible for the construction of this than Congressman Dave Obey. Dave Obey's ability to understand what properly targeted earmarks look like, which is exactly what this one is behind me, which is exactly what the good congressman had shared with the Wausau community when he stared at the Highway 29 interchange that took well over 40 years to construct as well. There are ways that the federal government can actually work correctly for the benefit of public safety, for the benefit of those that need to increase the productivity of the businesses that they look to support. And quite frankly, Congressman Obie truly has served this region and this district with grace and certainly with an understanding of making this happen. So on behalf of all of the citizens, not just of the city of Stevens Point, but certainly on behalf of all of the citizens of Portage County who will benefit from this great separation, thank you, Dave, for all that you have done. And I certainly wish that he could be here today, so it is unfortunate. When I set out to serve this community, I had a very specific list of items that I wanted to get done on behalf of making this broader community a better place to live, work, and play. This great separation was at the top of the list and represents the last chapter of my administration. It's unbelievably rewarding for me to be here today as the former mayor to see this project done and to recognize the partnerships that truly did make it happen. There are thousands of jobs literally between a half mile and 3/4 of a mile of this crossing that we're seeing lost productivity that I referenced earlier, delays, and perhaps most of all, intense displeasure, to say the least, for those that were unfortunate enough to spend 20+ minutes behind a stopped train. And I know that we all have favorite stories, of course, of the train that would slide over the crossing but so soon and coyly quickly back up through the crossing, most purposefully, seemingly, to anger you even more than you were in the beginning. So, Jackie, thank you for all of your hard work, and Kevin and so many others that are with CN for your support in being able to make this happen as well. Those are the stories, honestly, that we've all shared most, but the real story is the response time for emergency services and the non-reliance on pumping systems for this crossing as opposed to the other two main underpasses here in the city, which we most recently saw catastrophically fail to create significant emergency challenges for all of us in the entire region. Productivity will be increased in multipliers yet to be seen and realized by the lives that will be shared, saved, and comforted due to faster response because of this investment. When my administration created TIF districts number 8 and 9, the Spectra TIF, which is just adjacent to us, I saw the Hoffmeisters here as well, and TIF district number 9, which is East Park Commerce Center, we wanted to make sure that the distances and the project plans formally for those TIF districts would allow for taxpayer-reduced funding and the reliance of this overpass being able to take the increment from those TIF districts as they increase to be able to offset the burden to the city taxpayer for the proportions of this project that they will be responsible for. And thankfully now, as we look at the success of Delta Dental and many others, I saw Dennis Peterson here as well, and so many other elements of investment that are happening within these districts, the taxpayer obligation for this will be reduced over time significantly. So as I close the last chapter of my service to the city of Stevens Point, I want to say how very grateful I am and have been to the residents of this city for entrusting me with the well-being of the city that you all call home. Thank you so very much, and it's thrilling to be here.
And officially dedicate this Hoover Overpass. 1, 2, 3. Cheese!